back to the Fermented World Homebrew channel. So it's been around 4 days since we started this. It may even be 5 days, I am not sure. I forgot to put a label on this, but I do know that we need to add some dry hops to this. So I've got some equipment, because if you remember, I don't know where that piece of paper's gone now, but it did tell us, here it is, to write down our gravity as we went along with it. Our start gravity was 1.050, and we're going to take a hydrometer reading now, and we're going to add the dry hops. So first things first, I'm going to take this off, or out of the thing, and I'm going to put it in this sanitized container. I'm going to lift this lid off, and it's definitely going. There'd be a lot of mess being made. Let's pop that up there where it's sanitary. I'm going to cut through all this. There's a big layer of hops at the top, which ideally should be in the beverage, so we might agitate that ever so slightly. Probably shouldn't, but it's not doing much good with it sat all on the top. So our hydrometer says, put it up here, you might be able to see it. It says we're at about the 18 mark, which means it's had a really good fermentation. I'm not going to taste it because it's got live yeast in, but this has all been sanitized so it can go back in. And I am, as I said, just gonna try and agitate that back into the liquid gently. And we want to get this lid back on as soon as possible. So the CO2 that it's producing kind of makes a what would you call it? A safe area. Kind of blocks out all the crud and stuff. So I'm going to go get the hops, and I'm going to be using a hop bag for this time for the hops. I should have done it in the first instance, because then I wouldn't have tons of hops floating around, but unfortunately I didn't, so that's just that. So this one's the Columbus, and this one is the Citra. Now I'm going to try and clone this beer and see if I can brew my own version of it, an all grain version. I have a recipe for a red ale, and I think just using the right amount of hops in the right place could kind of get us there. So then we tie a knot in that, sanitized of course, and we're just going to lay that in there gently. That will eventually get submerged and sink to the bottom, and we won't have to contend with the extra hops being in the thing then. And that is pretty much it. Get some fresh water for this, and that is the dry part of the brew. It's not all that sophisticated, you're literally just adding dry hops. So flip this back over, put our airlock in, make sure it's coming out the bottom, and seal it back off. Another 4 days, and we'll check the gravity again. Now what you're supposed to do is you check the gravity for the final gravity, but then a day later, pretty much 24 hours later, you want to check it again. If it's at the same gravity, it means it's finished fermenting. This is going to bottle condition, it's going to be carbonated in bottles, and it's going to taste great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon when we come around to bottling it. Okay, so we are back with the liquid malt extract kit. It is now time to bottle. I took out the dry hops 4 or 5 days after, and what I did is I wringed the bag out, wash my hands, obviously sanitize them, wring the bag out, get all the hoppy juiciness going back into the beer, and then I'll let it settle for a day or so, just so that that juiciness can then spread itself out and disperse equally. So this kit calls for spray malt, light spray malt, to be added instead of just table sugar to prime it, and that's what gives us that carbonation. So what we're going to have is, I have got spray malt because I brew all grain beers and I always have some spray malt just in case I don't get the start gravity that I want. And it's always good to add a little bit as well because it just bolsters the kit a little bit. It does say that, however, you can use Munson's carbonation drops or sugar may be used instead. I totally forgot about using the light spray malt in the finishing of a beer, so I may take up doing that. And it says after that, stand the bottles or a barrel, whichever you put it into, in a warm place for 2 days, then allow 14 days in a cool place or until the beer has cleared. So I do things a little bit differently to that. I leave them at room temperature for 1 whole week, and then at a cool area for 2 weeks, and then I drink it. But this does say 14 days in a cool area, so the 2 weeks, that's about right, but I leave it a little bit longer to make sure that the carbonation's complete. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to open it up. We're going to have a taste first and foremost. Well, actually no, that's not going to be the first thing we do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a hydrometer reading to see how far out it's fermented, and it'll give us a calculation of what ABV we've got. So let's get it opened. We're definitely bottling it, so it's going to come off. Beast. Smells funky. Funky. Just gases coming off it. I'm sure it'll taste splendid. So if you remember, we did put those first hops in there, floating around, which was a bit of an idiot move really, because I should have just put them in a bag and done it that way. It would have saved a lot less mess. But we are at the 12 mark, which is a little bit high, but I think a red ale was supposed to be slightly sweet. Yeah, I can't remember what my other red ale finished at. I'll have to go double check. I'll go do that now. Okay, well that actually finished at 12. So, or the instructions says that it should have finished at 12. That's an all grain kit that I bought from Brew Day Supplies. Go check them out. This is where you'll buy this kit from. So we're going in at 12 for that. So write that down on your little doofer. I'll do it later because I want to crack on because it's late and it's actually coming up to 11 o'clock. I've been out with the kids, so on a giant bloody Ferris wheel. That was a bit of a small measure, wasn't it? So it is a bit cloudy, which is just yeast popping off and doing yeasty things. Oh, it tastes so good. Like really, really good. Anyway, let's drink him and let's go get some bottles. So I've washed and sterilised 40 of them because this is a 20 litre batch. You might not need that many because some of them, obviously, some of it's going to be laid to waste at the bottom where you're just not going to be able to get it out. But we're expecting that, so it's not the end of the world. So let's just move this temporarily where you're going to be able to see what I am doing, but I need to adjust these a second. Just bear with me. Right, so now you can see what I'm actually doing. So we are going to, first of all, finish drinking this. That's really good. Nice colour as well. Very nice colour. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the bottle wand to this, nice and firm, and then, and only then, are we going to open this tap, which will then start to fill up this here. Now the first couple of bits that come through are going to be horrible and gunky, and you're not going to want to drink them. And I think that's so horrible and gunky, it's actually blocked the tube. So let's try that again. Had to turn the tap off to remove this, otherwise obviously a load of beer would come flowing out. It seemed to be like a bit of hops, a bit of hops and a bit of yeast just gunking up the area in the bottom of the thing here. So let's just move this a little bit closer to me so I got a better measure of what's going on, and we're going to just do that part again. Right, and that's going to be wasted. As you can see, there's quite a bit of crud in there, unfortunately, but I'll tell you what it does work good for, this little bit of crud. Can't leave it too long, but it's great for getting rid of fruit flies. So, bottle in there, and you just go through the bottles, fill them all up, and you aim to fill it to about here, and then as you draw out the bottle wand, the water level or liquid level falls down, and you know, it gives you the right amount of space. It might be clogged again a little bit with bits of hops that have come through. Again, this is why I don't like throwing in the hops in the way that it did at the beginning of there, because it does cause a bit of problem. But anyway, and that is the first bottle full. Now I'm going to speed this bit up. Okay, so I've done that, and I've done the math as well. This is at 4.9%, which is nice. It's about right for the start. It probably could be a little bit less, but I did add spray malt to ramp it up ever so slightly. I just like a stronger beer, to be honest, but again, preferences. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be adding some spray malt. Right, so we have got our spray malt, which is extremely fine stuff, and we're just going to use a 1 teaspoon spoon, and we're going to drop that into there. And we're going to go do the next one. This is called priming, like I mentioned earlier on, and what this is going to do is cause a miniature fermentation inside the bottle. Nothing to worry about, naturally carbonating the beer. And I'm going to do these last two in real time, and then I'm going to get speeding these up. It's just a lot of the same, there's no real difference. Use the back of a knife to kind of just clear off any that's like headed. You want about the same in each one, you see. If you start having different amounts in different ones, the beer won't be very consistent. So that's what we're doing, and I'm going to speed this up. a liquid malt extract kit. The end part is exactly the same for me. This is how I bottle my normal beer that I brew. The only difference with this is the work's already made for you. It comes in a tin or a packet, and you just add water. It's that simple. And some of them are already hopped as well. So like I added hops to this one because this kit had hops to add. But what you can do is you can buy simple kits, more simple kits than this one. And then once you've got the fundamentals and you understand what you're doing, start adding your own hops at different points of the boil, and you'll slowly but surely realise that, you know, it's pretty simple stuff. But you do need to dedicate time for it. Like I've been putting this off, and it's now nearly it's about 10 to 12. So it's gone quarter to 12, nearly 10 to 12, and I'm cream crackered, but I had to get this done. There was no two ways about it. So as I said earlier on, what's going to happen in there now is the yeast is going to eat the sugar that we've just put in, and it's going to create CO2, which is trapped, so then it's forced into the beverage. There is a couple more down here as well, which I just can't fit on here at the moment. I'm going to have to move this stuff so that there's enough, because this is a bigger batch than what I usually brew. I usually brew half the size of this. But yeah, there you go. That's how you brew a liquid malt extract kit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.